Hey everybody, it's Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Melsner.
And I just finished an emotionally draining video game, so if I sound really tired, that's why.
And you're watching episode 137 of the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast. Do you know what today is, Victoria?
We get to start a new album!
Do you know what else today is? It's New Year's
Friday!
Eve.
Oh,
New
Year's
That's when this
Eve.
episode is supposed to be coming out.
I don't remember what day of the week New Year's Eve was on. I feel like it was like
Sundays
a
are when
Monday or something like
Sundays
that.
are when episodes are scheduled to come out.
Okay.
So
That means we're at Riley's house right now.
it does.
Yeah.
You're right. Good dusk fun.
You can put up that shirt that says, like, if I took a picture of it, like, if there are two guys on the moon.
So, yes, album 64, right? Under the Surface? Yes. Yes, album 64, Under the Surface. I'm going to double check. We're so bad.
By the way,
But
none
that's
of
the
the
right
things
number.
in my new
Yes.
iTunes are syncing properly, so I need your help with that.
All right. Perfect
Before I
time to
forget.
tell me.
Yeah, I keep on forgetting to tell you.
So, which episodes are we talking about today, Victoria?
Your honest opinion, please, and the writer's ruse.
Secret of the Rose. Yeah.
That too.
Yeah. This is a solid pair of episodes to talk about.
Yeah. Well, solid-ish. I will
Okay.
counter that.
Let's get into it. Episode 832, Your Honest Opinion, Please, written by Sam Suxiri. What happens?
In this episode, we have an A plot and a B plot. A plot is about Penny and Wooten, and Penny gets like this really sweet. It's lagging. Video's lagging. This sweet like new contracting art deal thing where like all these paintings are getting super popular and stuff, and Wooten says like, oh no, it starts with her putting on a show or something, or she's a painting in a show.
No,
and then she
organized
asks,
a pop-up art show.
She asks Wooten what he thinks of a painting, and he's like, oh, I hate it, but if you like it, that's okay. And then he finds out later it was hers, and I was like, I totally called that. And later on, he's like, I feel bad about that. So, like, in our house, I cleared up the space, so you can have your own little, like, wall of paintings, your own little private gallery. You can put whatever you want there. And she's like, I have these old paintings that just, like, would look so good here. And he says, great, put them up. I love you. And she's like, I love you too. And he comes back the next day and he's like, I have questions about our marriage. Because there's just crazy clown paintings everywhere. And then and Wooten isn't able to tell Penny that he doesn't like them for a really long time. He's having like nightmares and stuff, and everything's very traumatizing to him. It comes out that he doesn't like them at the worst moment while Penny's like being interviewed about them. I don't think it was live.
Well, it was a magazine, Victoria.
Yeah, it was a magazine. I couldn't remember what she was being interviewed for. I listened to this episode at the beginning of January, Devin. And then they make up and stuff. The B plot is about Penny, and is about Connie and this new artist guy.
David Michael, please.
He has like all these weird habits.
I love him.
He's the worst.
I love him.
He's the worst. I hated him, but then I think I liked him at the end. He's the worst person ever. Just think of like the worst person to work in the same environment as, and that's him. But he's also super famous.
The best part of
Connie
this episode.
doesn't want to say anything.
The best part of this episode, and when she's like, Tim, and he's like, who? And she's like, Tim David Michael, and he was like, oh yes, Connie.
he's oh my gosh. He's so interesting as a person. My goodness. And so then like Connie's trying to figure out a way to tell him to, like, as politely as possible to just stop, like, literally everything. And then she doesn't. And then one day, because he's, like, a billion habits she hates, one day he's just like, hey, I need to talk to you about something. She's like, what? He's like, what did he say?
It was humming, right?
Yeah, he's like, you hum when you paint? And that, like, really annoys me. She's like, oh, really? We're gonna have this conversation? She just lays into him, and it was great. It was so good. It was very satisfying. Except for I felt bad and she felt bad right after she was done talking.
But then he actually wanted constructive criticism, and it was good, and he was actually a good person.
I actually ended up liking him at the end of the episode. But this episode really reminded me of an episode with Katrina and Eugene and Connie.
Yes.
With the bedazzling.
Yep.
What was it called?
And the chicken dinner. I talked about it later in here.
I
it's an
know
album.
the name of it. No, wait, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I know it. I know it. I know it. Don't tell me. You're Too Kind?
You're correct.
Yes!
Yes. The thing is, when I say later in here, when I think of You're Too Kind, I only remember the B-plot from that episode.
Mm-hmm. We had this conversation outside the podcast.
Oh, okay.
At one point.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that.
No.
We had this exact same conversation.
Well, maybe we had it. Maybe I didn't put it in notes then. I just talked to you.
That's probably it. And it also reminded me of... No, it's just mainly that one. Penny. Man, I love ya, but why you got all those clown paintings? What's up with that?
It was from her clown period.
Even Connie was just like, these are really disturbing. Do you know that?
Penny's one of those Pennywise people. It makes sense now, because it's her name. Victoria, we should have seen it coming. Her name is Pennywise.
It turns out she's actually Tim Curry in a wig. But, like, Tim Curry's so talented.
Rocky Horror?
Yeah, he's actually Dr. Frankenfurter.
Is Pennywise.
We've
it
cracked
all makes
the code,
sense,
kids.
Victoria. How did we not see it before?
I'm just a young artist from Pennsylvania. It works! She is Tim Curry! Oh my gosh. She is Tim Curry. You look so happy. You haven't even seen Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I know, but still.
I have.
It fits. It makes sense.
Next time I listen to an episode with Penny, I'm just gonna be yelling random words and like throwing things at my phone.
cheeks hurt now.
Every time Penny comes up, I'll yell, artist! And when it comes up, I yell, jerk! And then I periodically throw rice at my phone.
So, top of the episode, Pop-Up Art Show. I, like Wooten, legitimately thought they were doing an art exhibit on Pop-Up Art because that would have been really cool. That would be super cool. That would be super cool.
I would see that.
Hundo P with Wooten here.
I would totally see that. That would be a lot of fun. Who does not like pop-up books?
It's so cool.
They're so much fun.
There's some really fancy, complicated stuff out there.
Yeah, there are. They're I think there's a Narnia one that Mom owns or something like that, and it's really fancy.
Well, no, I mean, but if you had an art show, I mean big fancy stuff with that would move and stuff.
Yeah, but I have a feeling I think the coolest part of a pop-up book is when you get to see everything pop up.
Well, that's why
sometimes
that's why it's an interactive exhibit,
okay,
Victoria. You would get to lots of pop-up books when they're on display. When they're on display, they're always completely out, and you're not allowed touching them because they can break very easily. They can rip It is so easy to rip a pop-up book if you pull the thing when you're supposed to twist it or something like that. Yeah, so don't.
But yeah. I have a feeling everything would already be out and you wouldn't be allowed to touch it, so half the fun would be gone.
Wooten, in the opening scene, talks about Captain Ichabodiya being Captain Absolutely. And I was like, wait a minute. I realized this is because they spent so much time building up all the Power Boy references, the references within Power Boy lore, and then they lost them to copyright, and that's what created Captain Absolutely. So I guess it, I was like, does that mean Power Boy no longer exists in canon?
Maybe the copyright thing was canon.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah. And so we moved him over to Captain Absolutely. Or I was like, more likely, honestly, it's comic books, so it's probably just a crossover.
Yeah, crossover. I was just thinking, can you imagine if we have a 23-minute episode of Odyssey that's just all about copyright infringement and teaching people about it? I would send it to the people who run YouTube. to show them what copy infringement actually is.
So, Wooten trashes the painting respectfully. And then Connie's like...
I thought he was, like, really civil about it. And also he said the whole, like, if you like it, then that's great.
No, it was good, yeah.
I love it when people say, like, personally, I'm not a big fan of this, but if you love it, more power to you. I'm glad you're able to find something in it that I could not. And I think that's really great when people say things like that.
But, yeah, so Wooten does it, and then Penny's like, alright. And then leaves,
and
then
like
Connie...
a quiet storm, and I was so scared.
Connie's like, did you like Penny's painting? I was like, how did Mr. Pennywise not know that was Penny's painting, but Connie did?
Oh, no, it's sad. She probably wanted that to be surprised or something like that, so she never told him about it. That makes it sad.
Yeah, I realized... I was like, I literally say right there, I was like, I assume Penny was trying to keep it as a surprise, and that's why she was being secretive about who painted it and being tongue-in-cheek about getting a discount from the artist.
I could totally see myself doing that, and then getting dissed, and then being really... I would like, go and cry in the other room.
And it's so telling to Penny's character that she didn't say anything to Wooten, and wouldn't have said anything if Connie
It's
hadn't.
so sad. Penny and Wooten are married for a week before they get a divorce.
So Wooten sets up the gallery in the hallways and stuff, and I was like, how is that all not ready a thing? And word sentence that
But
in.
I guess it was like stuff where he put his private, like, original, really special
but it was like
artistry stuff.
It was like in the hallways, like given the size and the like Wooten's house is just eccentric wish fulfillment.
For some reason I was thinking like, no, this would be his original house. So everything would already be there.
Yeah,
and then Penny would move in. But this is the house
he built this house for both of them.
This is the house they got together. So
they built together.
Yeah, it's weird that there isn't.
This whole house is about eccentric wish fulfillment of them as a couple. So how did she not already have a gallery for herself? Like his last house has a secret underground lair just to show off his art, and yet he didn't give her a gallery for her art. She, who's actually a painter.
Maybe she didn't say anything because she was like, "Oh no, it's cool. Yours is nice."
Wooten, a dense boy.
Dense boy.
I cannot fault...
Okay, it was, like, really obvious that it was Penny's painting.
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
yes.
I was, like, cringing the entire time Wooten was talking, even though he was very respectful about it.
When Penny talks about how she set her first studio at the college on fire because, got confused with flammable and inflammable, it's like... Thank you. Yes, I find absolutely no fault with this whatsoever because it's the worst linguistic thing that those two words are synonymous with each other.
What's that word from Sanders sides? What's the word that means like infinitesimal? I did not know what that word meant before Sanders sides. Now I do, but in one episode it's used incorrectly by the smart one of the group. And then in every single episode, they'd bring it up at one point. So, like, remember when he used it wrong because he thought it meant, like, something really big? And that's what I thought it meant, too.
You never heard people use it? I thought it was a relatively common word.
I thought, he's like, the possibilities of this are infinitesimal. We have so much to explore. I can't say it right. And... So there are just words where it's okay not to know what they mean. I feel like Penny and young Eugene would get along really well, but, like, they would destroy the world. They would, like, destroy everything.
I like how Ryan Haywood always mispronounces words because he, like, knows them from books but not from other things, and he says words weird. And
I do that sometimes. Especially with Japanese names.
The big one is that he says apex instead of apex.
Oh, that sounds wrong.
And in the Minecraft text-to-speech video, Gavin just typed apex into the thing so it would read it with a computer voice, like just to show like he was pronouncing it wrong. Just like the Azure video from Bim Bam.
Which one?
Azure.
Oh, Azure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Azure, right?
Azure.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I thought it was Azure.
No, it's Azure.
It's a weird word anyway. It shouldn't be a color.
So, Tim David Michael. He's a guy, and he's in Connie's art studio.
Every time I hear that name, I just think of, like, something Davis, like the guy who did the Calvin and Hobbes.
Jim Davis?
Comic. Yeah.
Who did Garfield?
Garfield. Yeah.
Bill Watterson made Calvin and Hobbes.
Same difference.
They're really not. You know how you know how I can tell?
I don't really like Garfield, and I really love Calvin.
You know what the difference is? The difference is that in our grade 7 French immersion classroom, there was a stand with comic books on it.
There was a bunch of
and they
Garfield,
had a bunch of Garfield and a bench of Calvin and Hobbes.
Or there was.
And let me tell you, you don't appreciate the difference between reading those two comics until you're reading it in a language you've only been learning for a year, because
everything
the language
in Calvin
level
and Hobbes is so sophisticated.
the language level of Garfield and the language level of Calvin and Hobbes is very different from each other.
I remember the only thing I actually was able to read in French and had a really good grasp on was I started reading the second Harry Potter book, and I got a couple chapters into it. But I feel like I might have had an easy time with it because I'd already read it in English and seen the movie like a billion times. But I still did pretty good with that one.
So, Tim David Michael has some music, and I love it because he was like, oh, it's like country screaming or whatever. And it's not just like country and screamo cut together, because it's not like screamo singing, it's just straight up legit normal screaming. It's not like it's just like over country music. I was just
so
cackling.
Good.
It was so fun. I was like, I love this guy's taste. He's so good.
He was like a really funny character, but at the same time, I'm thinking like, I'm so glad
you don't know him in real life.
I don't know this guy in real life or anyone like this guy, because there's always like at least one person in everyone's life they meet that really annoys them. But like, I've never met anyone who annoyed me as much as he would annoy me if he was a real person in my life who I had to spend, like, the same amount of time with him that Connie had to spend with him.
He's one of those
Connie
characters.
is a saint.
He's
for
one of
being
those
that patient
one of
before
those
she snapped.
characters who's like, oh, this person's great in theory, from a distance.
You stay way over there, and I'll go way over here.
So Wooten constantly reiterates how his fear of clowns stems from his Uncle Hilbert. At his birthday party.
He has a history with clowns in his family, that boy.
Yeah, I'm really curious as to how Wooten's great uncle Hilbert ties into Wooten's deep knowledge of the clown confidentiality code and the dangers that it entails.
Didn't he have an aunt or a cousin?
Right, it was an aunt.
And
I wonder
if
it's the aunt and uncle who are married.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
They're both clowns.
They're both clowns. What a nightmare marriage. It's like that video for the Juggalo dating site.
They're both clowns, and then they probably had, like, Winston would have been possibly one of their siblings. Can you imagine that? That'd be so amazing.
It's great uncle.
Oh, that's... darn it.
So Wooten's grandfather.
Wait, could it be possible that he was her dad? Is that how family trees work?
He was whose dad?
The aunt who's also a
I mean,
clown.
technically that would be a first cousin once removed, but you could call them an aunt, because people do that.
That might be a thing. It's like clowning ran in the family for 2 generations and then just cut off.
No, I like the idea that they're both clowns and they met on that fake spoof commercial for the Juggalo dating site. That's a much better. That's a much better headcanon.
I saw a video of like terrible dating sites the other day. There's a dating site for golfers, and it just had like, it had 64 reviews, and all of them were 1 star, and just saying how bad it was. It was the funniest thing.
The problem is that the only guy on the site is Tiger Woods. AIOO, low-hanging fruit.
No, the guy who made the video, he made a joke about it. He's like, if golfers are so desperate looking for love, like, I thought they would have been doing really good because Tiger Woods had so many, like, hookups. But I guess I was wrong.
So, Tim David Michael, I know you won't get the story, but hopefully some people will.
Okay.
There was an episode of 30 Rock where Liz dated this guy who was so impossibly handsome and like perfect, but not he was just handsome and that was it, that he never experienced negativity or criticism in his entire life because no one could say anything mean to him because he was so good looking. Very self-entitled because no one had ever criticized him before. And Liz was like, what's wrong with this guy? And then she finally like calls him out on everything because he was cute. And wasn't even long. It was like one episode.
Oh, okay.
And he cracked when she tried to call him on it, like Captain Hammer style. He's just got like so defensive and angry, and he was like, was it
like a nice guy kind evil. Of angry?
Yeah, I was like, I can't believe you're criticizing me when I'm so good at all these things, and you're just jealous of all my success. Like, they'd go and play tennis, and he couldn't like hit the ball, but then the instructor was like, oh yeah, perfect, you beat me, and stuff like that. And he just had like this bubble of positivity around him. The difference, though, here at the end, of course, was that is not what Tim David Michael ended up being like. Even though he was over dramatic in his reactions, he earnestly sought out criticism and he acted on it, and it was like he's actually a pretty neat, down to earth, well traveled guy, and I hope he shows up again, even though I know he won't.
He was a lot like Devin, where like you expect the character to be like super crappy, but then they turn out to actually be like super nice, and it was pretty nice, especially since like I hate, like, the nice guy thing so much, where, like, they snap and they turn out to be the worst person ever. And I never had, like, I guess I had some kind of quota for it before, like, a part of me that was just like, okay, I won't get, like, super done with life every single time I see one of these things on Tumblr. I'll just, like, forget about it or anything. Ever since I read Much Ado About Nothing and had to read about Claudio and listen about Claudio's terrible personality in class for like 2 weeks, I have, every single time I've seen something where like a nice guy, I'm like, I snap every single time.
Good. Go off, Victoria. You go off.
I mean, like, it always made me super mad, but I never thought I could get more mad, and then I apparently could. Because of Claudio. So well done, Shakespeare. You and your original nice guy have broke me, but he was supposed to be garbage, so you did a good job. I love Shakespeare so much. He gave me Benedict. I love Benedict. He is good.
So, it is time to talk about the theme of the episode, which I feel is something that we forget a lot on accident to actually talk about the moral of the episode.
So the theme about this one is, like, don't be too nice that you don't say stuff.
Yeah.
I told you it's been, like, a month since I should listen to it again.
I loved the theme for this episode.
I thought it was good.
For the first half of the episode, buckle in, because I just wrote a sermon here. For the first half of the episode, I felt like the theme was basically the same as And That's the Truth from album 43 with PJ and Jack and Tamika and everyone. The theme verse is actually the same for both of these episodes as Speak the Truth in Love. But the theme for the episodes is subtly but super significantly different. And That's the Truth's A and B plots contrast each other by having Jack and Tamika focus on one half of the verse while ignoring the other. Tamika spoke the truth with unnecessary cruelty to those around her, and Jack tried too hard to be loving to PJ, even though it was detrimental to his business and to PJ's own experience and work. Or was from Jack's perspective, because Jack didn't know that PJ was committing time card fraud.
PJ is great, but from a distance.
This episode was a much more advanced lesson spiritually, because on the surface level, it looks like selfishness. It looks like you should be more selfish. Wooten was sacrificing his own comfort to encourage his wife in her career, and Connie put up with Tim David Michael's annoying habits to allow his wunderkind mind to create world-class art at the expense of her own travels. And many people would feel that this is how we as Christians are called to live, constantly self-sacrificing for others, making ourselves as servants, etc. And to a degree, that is certainly true. But we have to remember something very often overlooked, which is that Jesus didn't say the second greatest commandment is love others more than yourself. It's love your neighbor as yourself. as, meaning equal, meaning on the same level. We love others because they're made in the image of God.
I think that every time I see that, like, love others as you love yourself, I'm like, man, I need to love myself more, probably.
Yeah. We love others because they're made in the image of God, but so are we. God doesn't want us to sell ourselves short because we're made in that same image. C.S. Lewis very elegantly put in the Screwtape Letters that humility is thinking of yourself not any greater or lesser than any other. He said that he believed God's true plan was that once we learn to love our neighbors as ourselves, we have to learn to love ourselves as our neighbors. And Jesus put so much emphasis on acting as a servant and sacrificing for others because our most common base instinct is to treat ourselves preferentially, even in tiny ways. But the most important time, when he listed the two greatest commandments that sum up the law and the prophets, he didn't say make yourself lower than others. He said treat yourself as you treat others. It's self-care. It's also practical because we can't be at our best to serve God and others if we're always pouring ourselves out without replenishing and allowing ourselves to be filled in return. Wooten was very loving to Benny, but he wasn't being loving to himself, and you need both, and that's not a message that we get a lot in the church. We're so conditioned to giving and self-sacrificing that self-care and self-love can feel like vanity and selfishness, and we feel guilty for it. And we're like, oh no, we need to deny ourselves and stuff. And in a way we do with certain things, yes, but in the proper proportions, it is not only allowed self-love and self-care, but it is literally the second greatest commandment. Treat yourself.
Clothes. Treat yourself.
Cashmere.
Treat yourself.
Fine jewelry.
Treat yourself.
Spotty.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. 2011. That episode's so old.
I have not seen that full episode,
It's
but
so
I have
good.
watched the Treat Yourself clips so many times.
You should watch the episode.
They never failed to make
Also,
me
you should
very
watch the
happy.
whole show.
Shaky cam makes me feel sick.
You should watch that episode, though.
Probably.
It's so good when Ben just starts bawling in the Batman
It's so
suit.
Sweet. I really
Ben is
needed
one of
this,
the
guys.
greatest characters ever on TV. Every character in that show
I
is
really
the
need to watch
best character.
the show just for Ben, because I never got to where he shows up.
He's so good. He's so
sweet.
he
I
is
thought he was the mean guy.
the single
That's why I stopped.
best representation of like a nerdy character that
You've
I've
told
seen
me.
on any show or anything ever
We
in my
need
life.
to get
Yeah.
to the mystery.
So
let's finish this
final
one.
thoughts on the episode.
I think this episode is really, really good. Like, I don't think I have any problems with it, actually. I think I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I really think it was a strong opening for the season. Oh, also, we never said this. It's not the Buck and Eugene road trip episode,
Yeah,
which is what
also
we
that.
thought it would
Forgot
be.
to say
That was like the first thing we said to each other
We're
after
so
we
assumptive.
both listened to it. We're like, it wasn't the one with Buck and Eugene.
Yeah. We were
So.
so sure because there's so few titles
Mm-hmm.
to pick among.
Even with only 6 titles, we still can't get it right.
They're so bad.
We got the
Even
next
you.
one right.
Oh yeah, that was hard. That was a
Yeah.
mystery.
Literally. Give your rating.
This episode, I think I'm also going to go with 5 stars.
I don't,
Because I don't,
much
which I
to say on
don't
this
normally
episode.
throw
I
at
liked
slice
it.
of life episodes, but you know, it was funny, it was cute. I like the Penny Wooten interactions a lot. I like getting to see like more like kind of benign conflict
What's
in the relationship.
ship name?
Do they have one?
I don't know. You're bad at coming up with ship names.
I am.
They're like really bad. Let me think.
And Tim, David, Michael, I really liked. I really like Connie in this episode, which is basically everyone.
Wootney.
No.
Putin.
I think I've said that before.
I'm as bad at coming up with ship names as you. Actually, I'm a little bit not as bad.
But then you can also, like...
Wait, no, keep on
You
talking.
come up with the
keep
esoteric
on-
ones, like Candy in the Wind.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do. Okay, keep on
I
talking.
love that, Candy in the Wind. Just say Charlie Buckets and Avatar Aang.
Oh, what about artist? Artist
That's a bit
They're both
short for a
artists.
ship name. Artist.
No, it's not.
It's just two brothers. It's just called Two Brothers.
It's just two brothers.
Yeah, it was good, and just the theme. Obviously, I just said all of this, but it was such a really good, such an important theme that is extremely undervalued. That I feel like people usually spend more time going out of their way to say the opposite. So to an unbalanced degree sometimes, and then people end up like just working themselves to death because they don't understand that balance.
I came up with a ship name for them, which I'm going to stick with. It is Paints and Ink. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Paints and
It's
Ink.
not terrible.
Yeah. I think it's cute, and it's paint for Penny and
well,
ink
yeah,
for
no, it's
Logan.
good. Like, I'm just not a fan of like the multiple word phrase
it's
based ship
longer
names.
than the actual names.
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
not a fan of
characters.
phrase based ship names, but
I know,
that is good though.
Thank you.
Like if I like that as that type of ship name as a concept, that's a very good one.
I like it when I'm not the one that comes up with it, and I see it enough to get used to it.
So that was episode 1. It was great. Now it's time to talk about
You're
episode
gonna
2.
Throw your phone at the
I'm knighting our audience, Victoria. Let's talk about the secret of the writer's ruse. So
I forgot that's how you spell Morrey.
I actually spelled it wrong. It's a Y.
Oh,
It's Morrey.
Still, I wish it was
Mori. I know.
Like the Morrey I love.
That would have added more to the whole Japanese confusion thing, though.
I know, but that's why we thought it was spelled that way.
Yeah, I know. Like Morinuzuka-senpai from Ouran High School Host Club.
What a good show. And manga.
And Mako Mori from Pacific Rim, which I still haven't seen. Episode 833, Secret of the Writer's Ruse, written by Bob Hoose, Phil Lawler, and Nathan Hoopler.
I actually spoiled this for Devin a little bit, and I
a little
felt
bit,
really
but I mean,
bad.
I think we also talked about this in the prediction thing.
But
so.
He made it sound like he'd listened to it already.
I absolutely did not. I told Victoria explicitly that day that I had not yet listened to it.
But all I heard was, listen to it, Victoria, listen to it. So I did, and I was like... And then you came into my room, and then I was just like, hey, can you go? Morrey's finally back after 12 years. It's been 12 years.
It's been 87 years.
And then I was talking about the Harry Potter.
Yeah, I know, and I was talking about Titanic. We do this every time, Victoria.
Yeah, we do. And then Devin's like, Morrey's in it? And it was this whole thing. Anyway.
Which, I mean, I said that as in, obviously Morrey's in it. We knew Morrey would be in it.
Last time they did a thing, Morrey wasn't in it.
That's fair.
I got super bad.
That's fair. Okay, we open up Emily narration. Obs.
I never summarized it.
Yeah, so Emily narration, and then what happens next?
Thanks, Devin. So this is Jones and Parker mystery, like we pretty much already said. And we predicted, so we got that right.
Because we smart.
Because it says secret in it, so that means mystery. Also, it sounds like a Nancy Drew title.
Or Agatha Christie.
No, hers are more creative than that.
Except this is literally supposed to be the title of a supposedly Agatha Christie novel.
Oh, was this an Agatha Christie parody?
Yes. Because the book that Emily was reading was called, The Mystery of the Something Train.
Devin, I predicted it. They adapted an Agatha Christie book. Oh my gosh, I predicted that.
Wasn't that last episode?
Yeah.
I hate you so much. The last episode.
I was right.
It was technically you first said it in the 2 episods ago, in the top 17 video.
I made the same joke in both recordings of it. I'm winning on the summary thing. You're losing so badly.
How? It was 2 episodes ago.
For those who don't remember, I made a joke about, since they adapted in BTV Revenge, they adapted Count of Monte Cristo, which is tied for, I have 3 favorite books, all tied for first place. One is the Count of Monte Cristo. I made a prediction that in this year of episodes, they would, although it was for the OAC, but still, they would adapt, and then there were none, which is another one of my favorite books, and it's an Agatha Christie book.
Oh yeah, that's true. You said, sorry, I was thinking you said Murder on the Orient Express is your thing. You said, and then there was none. So you were only half right. I feel a little better now.
I never said it. This isn't Murder on the Orient.
No, but I brought up Murder on the Orient Express because that's how you knew it was Agatha Christie.
Well, I just said like an Agatha Christie book.
Yes.
So I'm still right.
Yeah, but you're less right. Because they directly reference Murder on the Orient Express in this, which is what I thought you said. So you said a different book, so it's still close.
I've never read Murder
but it's not
on
as
the
scary
Orient
as not as scarily accurate as I thought you were there. Because I forgot.
How would you feel if I said line for line every single word in the next episode before I ever heard it? Would you have like a heart attack and die on the spot?
I would. I would probably have to kill you out of protection for the rest of the planet.
Oh, that'd be too powerful.
Yes. So what happens?
You had like a panic attack there. Are you okay?
What happens in the episode, Victoria?
So in this episode, Emily and Matthew are like on a dry spell for mysteries. And then they run into the devil's son incarnate himself, Morrey, also known as Lucifer. And then,
he's so bad.
Morrey or Lucifer. And then he like drops a book or whatever, or like plants on Emily or something.
They just crash into each other zanily.
Cute. And Morrey's like, sorry, I'm super messy. And Emily's like, I'm super neat.
It's like, sorry, I dropped my books all over the place. How clumsy of me.
How clumsy of me. And he like slides his foot like on the book closer to Emily. And
he was like, oh, look at this.
Take it.
It's not mine. Who could it be? Bend and snap.
And I thought his sister would show up in this. She never did.
Yeah, no more. Susie's still only been in the one episode.
Yeah, I want her to be in more. But Morrey. So that's a very.
That was Elise. I'm so glad we had the same thought.
I'm Elise. We're a mess tonight. We're both so tired.
It's been a long week.
We're both so tired.
It's been a very long week.
Oh, we have to be quiet or there's people upstairs. Okay. So, Morrey happens to be around them. At the same time, they get this mysterious, not Agatha Christie book that Emily never knew existed, and she supposedly read every Agatha Christie book, and I'm like, well, Emily, you know what? I've read 2, so get on my level. And 1, I struggled through so bad, because I just did not like it, and the other I read in an afternoon, because it was so good. The one I struggled with isn't that there were none. That was a joke.
Okay, I was like...
No, I read it, and then there were none in a couple hours.
What was the other one you read?
The ABC Murders.
Oh,
it was
yeah,
like
yes.
a Poirot, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Poirot.
Yeah.
Poirot.
I remember I read it, and he was like speaking in French, and I was like using this French accent, and then at one point they said, "You're Belgian," and I was like, "Wait, I thought he was from Paris." I think my first thought was like,
they talked about this in a Funhouse episode.
Yeah.
But also, yes, they do speak French in Belgium.
Yeah,
and other languages, Flemish and such.
I know they speak French in Belgium. But anyway, so then they like try and figure out what the deal behind this episode what's the deal behind this episode? What's the deal with this book? And they like talk to Whit and they talk to Eugene and they like they talked to this lady who the book like who knew the Agatha Christie lady, and then they're like, oh, it turns out this book was dedicated to you, and something about adoption and stuff. And
also she was a spy.
And she was also a spy in real life.
Okay.
Was it Harriet the Spy thing too?
Sorry?
Like Harriet the Spy.
I don't know. I barely remember Harriet the Spy.
I don't even know what that's about. I just know the title.
She's a girl
James
and she likes
Bond,
to spy. Well, she's like an 8-year-old girl.
Misogynistic.
And like a 6-year-old, 8-year-old girl.
She's a lot.
Who just a spy, as in like she goes to her neighbors with like a milk carton with mirrors in it, kind of thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I thought she was like this, like adult secrets. I'm so disappointed.
No, it's like Junie B. Jones.
This
kind of
is
like...
so disappointing to me. Oh, that's so sad. Anyway, so then
I like your idea though, because I'm just picturing 2 years from now when Hollywood really decides to make make the adult gritty reboot of Harriet the Spy.
Did you see that message I sent you on Skype
about
this morning? About it was this picture. And I can't remember what it was.
It's like the Peanuts.
Oh yeah,
I
saw this picture on Netflix, which was a lady in a bathtub. Devin can put the screenshot on here, and it says Thumper. And I was like, Wood? I don't know. And I was like, oh please let this be a gritty reboot of Bambi, please, like Riverdale style. I
was gonna say I don't get it. And this isn't Bambi. No, I think that is Rachel Evan Wood.
It turns out to be a movie.
Isn't that Dolores?
I don't. No. I don't know. You can look it up later. But anyway, so I just saw this thumbnail for a movie on Netflix. I was like, oh my gosh, please let this be a gritty Riverdale style reboot of Bambi. Unfortunately, it wasn't.
Yeah, no, that thing you sent me the Jimmy Fallon skit where they did Peanuts as Riverdale was hilarious.
I only got halfway through that. Anyway,
I mean, you wouldn't.
I didn't realize that was Jimmy Fallon until like about 2 minutes in.
He looked so much like Caleb Gallo in the video.
Wig.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh my gosh, we're so off topic.
And then the end of the episode.
The end of the episode. So, you said you wouldn't text me. That was my mom.
Why didn't you just silence your phone?
Because I didn't. It's the weekend. I can do what I want.
No, you can't.
Anyway, so the episode ends, and then Emily's just like, so you were an orphan and she was a spy, and the lady's like, oh my gosh, this is so emotional. But she says it like super monotone, that she's like, oh my gosh. Wow.
Well, would you look at that?
I'm so emotionally involved with what you're saying. And Emily's like, but this is actually a lie. Because Morrey made all this up. And then Morrey... And then they're like, let's open curtain number 3, Jim, and see what's behind it. And then like Whit and Eugene and Morrey come out, and then you hear the audience clapping.
More like let's open curtain number 1, and then curtain number 2, and then curtain number 3. How are there so many people hiding in here?
How did we not notice? And then Matthew's like, I was wondering, Emily, world's greatest detective,
like
when you're gonna note Whit's giant body hiding behind that stool over there, completely visible.
He was
for the past 20 minutes.
He was hiding in the houseplant with grease paint.
Okay,
Connie was actually in there too. They just didn't see her because she's leveled up so much from grinding.
Whit was like hiding by a cat, and like his mustache was kind of visible, but they thought it was the cat.
It was like the Cheshire cat.
Eugene was hiding upside down by a mop, and they thought he was a mop.
That's good.
And Morrey was just hanging from a ceiling fan. They just never looked up.
He's just
like
around
the entire time. Spinning the entire time. He's
like,
please let them figure this out.
If you listen really closely to the scene, you can hear the Doppler of the as Morrey like passes by the mic.
You can hear him getting more level.
I think I probably asked you this after you listened to the episode.
Wait, and then Morrey. Then Whit's like, you figured everything out. Morrey's like, yep, I want to give you guys a fun mystery because you've been so lame lately. And then it ends, and then it's like very quiet, and you think the episode's over. And I remember I said like, well, this was a completely useless episode.
Kids,
you could have completely done without.
Kids, the Morrey saga has officially moved into MCU Phase 2 because this episode. And you know what's funny?
Got a post-credit scene.
The key suspect also had a post-credit scene, but we're now in Phase 2.
After Chris talked.
This is now Phase 2. I know, but still, it was really.
No, it wasn't.
No, I mean, like, it wasn't. I mean, it was really a post-credit scene, even though it wasn't after Chris.
I know.
But this time, we got not 1, not 3, but 2 post-credit scenes.
I'm looking forward to the Odyssey episode where it's just all post-credit scenes of Morrey.
Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah.
14 Willy Wallers!
So the witch just like, I have a bad feeling about something that's going on. God, please, like, let me figure it out. And it cuts to Morrey, devil incarnate, and he's just like, well, and he's like a little,
well,
like, stuffed
looks
cat.
like they're falling right into
lap.
my plans.
You're so loud. He's just like, well, I have to do it more nasally.
No, that was good.
Well,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. High
Well, I, Morrey, Devil Son Incarnate.
Devil Son, that's my middle name. We've turned into Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged characters now.
Was set up this mystery for Emily and Matthew, and I was using it to figure out how smart they are to see if they could, like, beat me in my estimate of how long it'd take for them to figure it out. But they didn't, because I am Einstein and the devil combined. And it ends. And I was like, now we have to wait 2 more years for another Morrey episode.
Real talk, though.
No, I actually said that to Devin.
Yeah.
Like, after.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure I asked you this already. At what point in the episode did you figure out that it was all a fake mystery?
I was only half listening when I did it. I think I was like, I was really stressed at the time I was listening to it, because I had to do a whole bunch of things that night, and you're like, we have to record tonight, so go listen to it. And so I did. So I was also, like, kind of grumpy, because I don't like being told what to do.
Well,
So,
if you did it before I told you,
I know.
then I wouldn't have to tell you.
So
I'm such a parent.
You are. I was listening to it, and I was also playing games at the same time. And I was also kind of mopey, because my computer broke this weekend, and...
That weekend.
Yeah. And I was still waiting for my new one to come up, and I had so much homework, like, overload because of that, because I couldn't do it all properly, unless I was stealing Devin's computer. And so I was very mentally distracted until they blatantly just said it. So I didn't figure it out.
Okay.
I probably, maybe not, I don't know, I might have figured it out otherwise.
Yeah. I figured it
You
out.
look very smug when we 1 minute in before Morrey even gave him the book. What are you going to say?
I was actually going to say 90 seconds in. So no, Victoria, I'm not that smug.
You figured it out before you listened to the episode.
Yeah. Well, no, but really, I mean, before I listened to the episode, Emily picks up... the book falls when she crashes into Morrey, and the title is The Secret of...
Emily, take it! Take it, Emily! Take it!
Oops. Yeah, she's like... The Secret of the Writer's Ruse. I was like, this is a fake book. Morrey's setting up a fake mystery for them.
We can't go one Morrey episode without giving him ridiculous voices. Have you thought about that?
From now on, certainly.
Yeah. Because first it was the Joker, and now it's...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh,
I'll blow your mind.
I'll blow your minds. I'll steal all your milk money. It's my Morrey impersonation.
Yeah, no, I figured it out right away, like immediately. So I was really glad in Emily's opening narration that she mentioned like the key suspect thing and how they hadn't solved it. So I'm glad they're like remember to bring in the continuity of like Morrey's stuff from the
past. I like how
past and
she
stuff.
didn't even mention it. Matthew did, and she's like, "Let's not focus on our failures. Shut up, Matthew, or else I'll make you sleep in the couch again."
Let's forget important clues. I said that like a human.
I said in the couch instead of on the couch.
Yeah.
I'll make you sleep in the couch, and I'll sleep on top of the couch, squishing you.
I liked, and this. It made me think of you, but like the complete opposite because it's so unrealistic. How Emily sees a book from an author she loves that she's obsessed with and she doesn't know about, which clearly must have fallen from Morrey's arms because where else could it have come from? And her assumption is, this must be some lost manuscript. I was like, she really has been reading too many detective novels. Like, and don't...
This made me think of me.
And, well, no, because I was thinking how opposite it would be. Like, if you saw... you're like, oh,
If I saw-
this must be some
if
Sarah
I
J.
saw
Maas book
something
I've
from-
never heard of before.
If someone
Guess I
bumped
missed
into me,
it.
and then they had, like, a Sarah J. Maas thing, it was like, oh, it's this Sarah J. Maas book, I'd be like, no, it's not, because I have every single one of those on my shelf, and I know them all inside and out. I am about to reread all of them, because she has 2 new books coming out this year. Holy crap, I just realized I have to read the first 3 ACOTAR books again in, like, a month.
You don't have to.
I do. Oh,
But yeah,
no,
no.
I'm so behind.
This is why it made me think of you, because
And
I was
then
like,
I'm planning on reading all 7, or all 6 of the Throne of Glass books during the summer, just in time for the 7th to come out, so I can fully appreciate it more, because I'm such a
but yeah,
loser
no, it
for
made me think of
books.
you, because when Emily's like, oh, my favorite author with whom I am obsessed, this is a book from her, I
Yeah.
guess I've never heard of it before, okay, I'm accepting this. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's realistic.
Sarah J. Maas, even though I have a lot of favorite authors, she's the only author where I own every single one of her books.
And we
that I read.
can't let it go unheard that
I would
Morrey,
buy literally anything she wrote.
that Morrey was reading up on Enigma cryptology, because that's definitely not going to come into play in
What
the
is
future.
that? I don't
The
know what
Enigma
that is.
was the machine that the Nazis used to encode their messages in World War II.
He is the devil!
And then it took like years for the Allies to like crack the code, and then they figured it out, but they didn't let the Nazis know that they'd figured it out, so they like intercepted their messages, but like had to do all sorts of stuff, so they didn't know that they knew what they were saying
Devin.
and stuff.
Did you know that if you take
It was like this.
the letters in Morrey's name
Mhm.
and you rearrange them,
Spells moron.
I was gonna say it spells evil, like
Yeah.
Voldemort style,
Yeah.
like spelling it in the air.
Uh-huh.
You swish your wand and they all jumble up.
Je suis. What was it? Because his middle name is Elvis in French, just because they had to make the anagram work in French.
Are you serious?
Yeah, his name
That's
is.
so funny.
It's also like
That's so funny.
his whole name is different in French, but his middle name is Elvis,
Oh
which
my
is the best part
gosh.
because they
That's
had to make
so
it like
funny. Why
they
have
had
I
to-
never heard
because
that
they had to make it
before?
fit like Je suis Lord Voldemort in French, and so they had to make it
Oh
a different
my
name
gosh.
or whatever.
That's so funny.
It is great.
Instead of Tom Marvello Riddle, which
Yeah.
is also a really dumb middle name.
Also,
But having his middle name,
how did
that's
you
so
not
funny.
know this, given that you were just talking
Elvis.
in this episode about how you read the
I only
second Harry
read
Potter
the
book in
first-
French?
No, I said I only read the first 2 chapters,
Oh,
so I
okay.
only got up to like where Dobby starts self-harming, and then I had to stop because reading time was over.
Okay.
And Dobby's like hitting himself in the face with a lamp, and I'm like,
Mhm.
Dobby, no!
And choking himself with a sock.
That's not a thing. You've been reading like, what kind of effects have you been reading with Dobby choking himself with a sock?
Come on, it could...
Dobby gets a sock and he wears it on his foot at the very end of the second book.
Yeah, and it like sets him free, and you were just it fit together.
He chokes himself with his hands.
It fit together, Victoria.
No, that's like
Okay.
some weird kind of. I don't know what you're.
Coming
reading
back to
online.
Emily being way
Jeez.
too weirdly believing of
Oh,
things.
she's the weird one.
Yeah. I love that Miss Emily Skeptic Jones is instantly willing to believe that this book is legit. She's like, this could be the only copy, self-published by not Agatha Christie herself. But she thinks it ended up at the Odyssey Middle School library from that. I was like, it wouldn't be the weirdest place, I guess, because, like, Whit could have donated it, but surely he would have put it into major circulation if that was the case, especially since he owns a publishing company.
If I ever saw anything else by Sarah J. Maas, I would flip it open. I'd be like, there are no, like, tanned men in here with tattoos on their bodies. This is not a Sarah J. Maas book. There are just
Yeah.
certain things that, like, when you've read someone, like, all the writing someone has done that has been published, you just know certain quirks about how they write.
Yes. I
And that makes me, like,
wonder what yours are.
Emily said she wrote, or she read, like, the book, or at least bits of it,
No.
or she didn't.
No, she did not.
Okay.
Because Morrey made that point at the end. He's like,
Okay.
I had to steal it from you because if you read it, you would have realized it wasn't a Mary Malloway
Okay,
book.
that's what I was about to say, because, like, if someone is your favorite author, and you can go all the way reading a fake book, or at least, like, a big chunk of text, you should be able to figure out if it's actually their writing style or not.
Some people are pretty good at emulating.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they're really good, they are, but not always.
Well, yeah, but they can be, is what I'm saying.
I bet I could pick out, if I had a bunch of fanfic writers writing Sarah J. Maas fanfics, I would be able to pick out which one would be the real Sarah J. Maas. It would be the one to make me cry the hardest and love the strongest.
If that was
I don't know
true-
what that means.
If that was true, we would have caught Thomas Estruc by now. We would have figured out who he really is.
That's true. Actually, I would argue that everyone writes better than him.
Well, yeah,
That would just
that
be
still
me.
would allow us to find him.
Because his would be the worst. Oh, burn.
That was Burn.
That was a burn.
But no, yeah, she's like,
I need an air horn.
this is the...
Thank you.
She's like, this must be like self-published. It's the only copy. And I was like, yeah. And it ended up in the Odyssey Middle School Library. Good detective work, Emily.
Well,
and
apparently, like, she lived in Odyssey or whatever, so I mean, like, it's not...
she
the
visited
case,
Odyssey
but-
for a weekend, yes.
Well, what's the difference? Have you ever been to Odyssey?
Ba 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 ba. So she goes to Wit and she's like, we have the donor number here in the book, and fortunately she memorized it since she lost the book, and she was like, man, the book after I left Morrey, I don't have the book anymore, but I have the book that Morrey had. Where could it have gone?
I'm just imagining Morrey like ballerina with his
He's
arms up
using
like
the
this,
foot again.
tiptoeing, and then he like takes off his sock and he just like sticks his
This is
foot in
exactly
his
what I was
backpack and
picturing.
just like picks it out and then just crawls out of the room, but like with his knees and his hands, so his feet are up and he still has the book between his toes, and no one notices.
You're describing
He's a
like
master
a
of
lost
stealth.
page of Paranatural.
He's a oh my gosh, that would happen in Paranatural. He is a wonder. I love Morrey.
So, yeah, so they're like, okay, fortunately Emily memorized the donor number, and she's like, maybe Morrey has the book. I was like, well, maybe, given that you two had your books mixed up, and then you came away from it, and you have the book that Morrey had. I wonder where it could have gone. They're like, we'll bring Wit the donor number, and then Wit has a MacBook, apparently, because he opens it up, and it's like, it makes the MacBook noise, that's exactly what it sounds like. If only I could change the source audio file to be that when my computer starts up. It's
You
like
want
all
to
blown out.
be me as Morrey from before when I went,
Yeah.
I want that to be my ringtone.
All I could think of when you did that was Jessica in Always Open this week, and the noises
I haven't
that she
seen it, though.
I know
It
you
wasn't
should watch it.
plagiarizing.
No, I know, but those are the noises that I would make my startup noise. So we hear it make a new boot noise. They didn't even repitch the sound from like what a Mac is. They just use it straight up, which is the
Well,
second
it sounds
time.
like Steve Jobs can listen to this episode. Brr, brr, brr. That's my air horn noise.
Why?
Because he's dead.
What does that have to do with listening to the episode?
You won't know that they stole the noise.
Okay. This is the second time that we've had confirmation that someone is using an Apple product based on the sound effects, because in the Cure
with Wooten.
Part 3, Wooten was...
Part 2.
It's Part 2? That was at the end when they're in the hospital.
No, it was when they're on the
in the
plane.
cabin?
It
It wasn't on the plane.
Oh,
It was
you're
in
right.
the-
It was
it
in
was
the
in the-
hospital.
it was-
Part 3.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was texting away to Penny, and
those clicky noises.
he was
that
annoying
iPhones
and
make.
didn't turn off his keyboard click noises like a civilized human being. So it was like click-a-dick-a-dick-a-doo. So my immediate assumption at this point, I was like, my first assumption when they found the book crashing into Morrey was he made this whole thing up, fake book, fake mystery, attached for unknown evil purposes, crashed into Emily to suck her into some trap. But the donor number is real. And I was like, so maybe Morrey stole the book, and maybe it is actually real? If this really is the only copy of what's basically an unknown Agatha Christie novel that was donated to the middle school library of Odyssey, I'm going to have a conniption fit. This show has finally broken my camel's back.
It's broken me.
This is the straw.
I honestly, I don't know about you, but if it weren't for the fact that Morrey had a plan behind this, if he actually didn't have a plan, and this was a fake book, would you consider this episode to be completely useless? 'Cause
Wait, if this was a real book?
No, if it wasn't a real book, it was just something that Morrey thought was real or something like that, or it doesn't even
Oh, but it
matter.
wasn't a Morrey plan.
But it
you're
wasn't a
saying.
Morrey plan.
Then yeah.
I thought that's what was going to happen for a long time.
No,
And
I knew
was
it
like,
was going to be a
and they
Morrey
got to the
plot.
end, they're like, oh, it's not real. I was like, this episode was useless.
As the
And
episode...
I thought Morrey's only purpose was just to, like, make them like him more or something like that.
Yeah,
And, yeah. I
from
just
the-
want to say really quick, sorry, before I forget, I think we've gotten to the point where it's like Canon Morrey and he's just like, I want to move these people around like they're chess pieces and use Emily and Matthew for unknown means, and I'm very sinister. And Fan and Morrey's just crawling around, taking things out of backpacks with his toes, and he talks like this, and
No,
sometimes
he
he impersonates.
He talks like
he
this.
talks like this.
But that is actually
And then
what
sometimes
he sounds like.
he impersonates the Joker and shoves people out of windows that are that high off the
But
ground.
he did. There was the whole scene with the window and the key suspects.
Like, I just want to say,
That was
I love,
funny.
I love our version of Fan and
I'd
Morrey
completely
so
forgotten
much.
about that. It was like a first story window. It's like, poor choice of words. And then Susie
And
falls
she
like 3
falls,
feet and she's like,
into a bush.
I'm telling mom. That was funny. That was a good review.
Oh man, that was back
anyways,
in your
yeah.
old place. We did that one.
So, yes. Beginning of the episode, I was like, "Oh, this is completely fake mystery." And then the more it went on, and
Fake news.
the more it involved like Whit and Eugene and this other lady and stuff knowing stuff, the more I was like, "Okay, either this is real, or I have no idea how Morrey managed to like hack into like the database to put in all this stuff, and he like broke into this lady's house to write words on the back of her photo album pictures and." All
I thought
this
it was
stuff.
interesting that like Eugene was one of the people in on it, but at the same time, he is the guy who planned Train Ride. So
Which is exactly what I thought of at the end of this.
It's kind of nice to see like that prankster side of him.
That's
again
exactly what I
after
thought.
like this many years. Oh my gosh, can that be like can we put that on the list of characters that haven't shown up in a billion albums? Prankster side of Eugene, along with Becky Riley and like Jeff
Excuse me.
and stuff.
Yeah, no, at the end, I was, for a second, I was like, I can't believe they went along with this. And then I was like, Train Ride.
Train Ride.
Yeah, so
I'm
along
just
the
waiting
same
for the
lines of
episode
like,
where
the book was in the library. It ended up here. I was like, I can't help but laugh whenever mysteries like this pull in people who are supposed to be like worldwide famous, and they specifically converge in Odyssey. For example, Tim David Michael is like, I wanted to get away from being the most famous 24-year-old actor or painter in the
I
world,
love him.
so I came to Campbell County Community College. I was like, what? The same thing as when Lightning Livingston moved to Odyssey. It's like, I just need to get away from all the fame and the buzz. So I moved to Odyssey because I'm friends with Whit. And I was like...
I don't know. Weirder things have happened in Odyssey. Like that mind control thing that no one talks about.
No one talks about.
I was just gonna say, like, I really want an episode where Whit just gets back at Eugene for all the crap he pulled in Train Ride, but then I
That would be
realized, and I was
a
like, where
serious
he like
grudge.
messes with him to the point where Eugene questions like huge facets of his entire life, and I was like, oh wait, that's what the Search for Whit trilogy is. Do you think
That's also like...
Turns out that's actually why Whit left for the Middle East. It wasn't some calling or anything like that. It was just getting revenge against Eugene in the most cruel
Also,
of ways.
like, based on what he did to Renee in her first episode, you know that Eugene has been through something where Whit made him question aspects of his entire life and the nature of reality before.
Do you think, like, he puts that, like, on everyone who tries out for
Oh
a
yeah,
job?
absolutely.
And then if they can't handle it, he just does Morty's mind blowers on them, and that's why Eugene and Connie and
He uses
Nick
the memory-
have never talked about it or Aubrey.
He uses the memory stimulator program, but he runs it backwards. It's actually this really cool
Sucks
thing,
their memories
Victoria,
out.
with computer programs where you just invert it by turning all the ones to zeros and the zeros to ones, and it makes the computer program do the opposite thing.
Yeah, and one day we're gonna get that episode where you find out about all those lost memories instead of another kids radio fairy tale vision.
I would love an AIO Morty's Mind Blowers.
I wouldn't. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it'd be
Interesting. Yeah. So at this point I was like, I'm still holding up my suspicions that this is all fake, solely because the title of the book and the episode is The Writer's Ruse. The Writer's Ruse. Morrey's like, I'm gonna come up with this really deep mystery, but I just can't
resist putting the biggest red flag right at the beginning of it.
You have so many voice cracks. So little time.
That's how you know he's a supervillain, because he has a plan that very easily could have been perfectly executable. He could have just stayed and watched the laser cut through James Bond,
gosh.
but he can't resist the dramatic tension. He just needs to monologue. He needs to leave it open for the chance for them to win.
I would do the same thing. Actually, that's entirely what ASU is, actually. But, I figured out who Morty's dad is.
Morrey's dad?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Morrey's
Morrey.
Mind Blowers.
No.
Morrey's Mind Blowers.
No, I was gonna say he's the Whisperer. How much sense does that make? And how much do you hate how much sense that makes? No, like, honestly, though. I want a straight-up answer. Like, completely honest, no joke. How much sense does that make if Morrey's dad is the Whisperer?
This episode should be called Devin's Mind Blowers, because the number of times you've freaked my bean in the last hour is off the charts. From Frankenfurter being Penny to whatever someone said earlier.
I really hope the thumbnail for this picture is just me smiling smugly and you going...
Oh, it is.
Like,
Yeah, I'm definitely good.
yeah.
I made a note of the timestamp so I can grab that myself.
Good.
Manually grab that thumbnail.
Good. But what do you think? My only flaw
It
with the
really
theory,
does, because he's evil. He has
he has a silly voice.
He has a silly voice. He's like a super mega nerd.
My only issue with the
He has
theory
a super mega
is
grudge against Odyssey.
who would want to marry the Whisperer? Like,
It was like
honesty.
it was an
Or-
egg donation. It was in
Oh,
vitro.
okay. That would actually make more. Didn't they say they have a mom?
And
though, at one point?
Suzu is adopted.
I know Suzu's adopted. We don't know if Morrey's adopted.
She's
I
a
guess.
trophy wife. She's just there for his money
Because
and his
the
gadgets.
Whisperer would have a trophy wife out of him.
Well, yeah, because he's rich. He's rich, and he couldn't get a regular wife because he's terrible and creepy.
Do you think he actually died like a little after Morrey was born? He was like, get revenge on Odyssey
The Whisperer,
for what they did against
the
me.
Whisperer is Buck's father.
No.
Because he died a tragic death. Or
No.
he's both Morrey and Buck are brothers.
No.
Morrey and Buck are brothers.
You come up with one more ridiculous Buck
I actually
family
think
here.
I might have said in a
will
previous
hate you.
episode that Morrey was Blackguard's son. We did actually talk about
you
that.
did
So
say
that actually
that.
we have
Yeah.
covered this before.
Yeah,
We've
have.
been doing this for too long.
No, but seriously though, okay, what, in all seriousness, the Whisperer being Morrey's dad
It does make a lot of sense.
is a lot more sensible to me than Blackguard being Buck's dad.
Well, let's get carried away here.
I want a 100% serious answer from you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
That is like freakishly good.
I am right. And then they're gonna go over and to like...
How on earth do you
I
sit
don't
in one
know.
spot and still manage to pull the blankets down without even moving?
I don't know.
It's terrifying.
But it's my superpower next to timing. They're gonna go over to like Morrey's house one episode, and they're gonna be like, "We need to stop this." And then the dad's gonna open the door. He's gonna be the Whisperer, and he's gonna be like, "Oh, my son's doing a good job," and then he's gonna shove him out a window. That's like that high, because he's super
Morrey's like,
ineffective
you guys
still.
can come over to my house. They're like, hey, Morrey, can we come over to your house for lunch? He's like, I think I should go to your house because the only food we have in our house is applesauce.
My
And then
dad
we're
is
like,
obsessed. Like, called it. Devin's like, Victoria's right. Turn
I'm
it.
having an aneurysm at this moment.
I can tell.
No, I mean, like, in that moment. I will be saying that in that moment in the future.
But you're also having one right now, though.
Yeah, because that is what I will be doing for real.
Yeah.
I love Maggie, because she's, like, learning that her mom was a spy, like you said. She's like,
so
just like,
nonchalant.
my mom is a spy, and also I was adopted, and she's just taking it all in stride. She's completely, like,
Do you
accepting.
think Morrey wrote that? Because plot twist, he's adopted too, and that was his reaction to finding out his mom was a spy.
Yeah.
And it works, because apparently his dad's the Whisperer.
And
so
it does make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Maggie was just so chill about it. I was like, how much Valium is she on? She's like, oh, gee, yeah, what a mystery. This is real swell.
Yeah, her voice.
It's not even like, oh, you were adopted. It's like, this spy was murdered, and when we went to her hotel room, the only thing left was
Yeah,
this baby, and
I
we
would
took
be-
it and raised it as our own.
Like, I would be
and that
crying.
was you. And
she
she's
was
like,
just
oh yeah,
like,
gee.
Wow. That's... Man.
No, she wasn't even like, wow. She's like, boy, that sure was a fun mystery, wasn't it, kids?
My mom
What was-
died.
what-
Boy, that was fun.
What was your favorite part, kids? That was my favorite, too.
You're freakishly good at that, and I don't like it when you do it.
Aw, thank you.
No, that wasn't a compliment. I guess
This
it
is
was.
Pawnee City Hall calling Ellie Dwyer. So,
Please press 11 to leave a message. There is no 11.
I knew it.
We're out of control this
It was
episode. This
very-
has been 39 minutes with this episode.
My instruments have been broken all week, and I've just been sitting banging my head against...
My computer's been broken for the past 2 weeks.
You have a new computer now.
Yeah, I got it the other day.
My
It's very
instruments are
nice.
still broken, Victoria.
My
I have a-
computer is still broken.
I have literally $1 million in hardware debt at my feet at work.
That's not
and
your
it's-
computer, though.
It's sad. They're my instruments.
Yeah, but you don't have to pay for them.
No, but I'm saying they're all broken, and it's been a stressful week, and now I'm tired, and that's why we're so
Yeah, but
goofy.
Devin, does it make you feel better knowing that Morrey is the son of the Whisperer?
Yes, it absolutely
Oh my
does.
gosh, I want that to be the name of the next episode with the Whisperer.
Son of the
Son of the
Whisperer.
Whisperer. It's like Son of the
Odyssey
Mask,
is
but somehow worse.
particularly fond of sequels.
Oh my gosh, this is great.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I don't
Yes.
remember... We might have said something to this effect in a video, but I was like, the Imagination Station novels are the movies that they made from A Day in the Life, and it's sequels. That's why they're so bad, and all the kids have been replaced, and it's so
That
weird,
makes
and
sense.
that's why it's all about time travel, but it's actual time travel, and there's a ring involved.
Better yet, they are the spin-off books to the movie. So that makes them even worse.
The spin-off TV show with the lower quality budget.
Like classic Who level quality where they put
No, I'm
googly
thinking-
eyes on rocks.
I'm thinking like 90s Disney TV show movie spin-offs.
Hey,
Like the Aladdin cartoon and
Hey.
the Hercules cartoon and
Hey.
the Timon and Pumbaa
I
cartoon.
was honestly talking about those with Cam like yesterday because I mentioned the Tangled TV show they have right now. And
yeah,
don't
that's
deny,
that's very different.
don't deny it was the single greatest moment of your childhood.
When they crossed over Hercules and Aladdin.
Watching Hercules and Aladdin cross over and fight to team up against Jafar and Hades.
I mean, it was interesting.
So good. And also the episode of Kim Possible where it crosses over with Lilo and Stitch and they think that Rufus is an experiment somehow, even though Jumba should know his own experiments because he knows every single
He has made
experiment.
so many of them, Victoria.
No, but he knows every single one.
Yeah, but sometimes one slips through the crack.
He knows and he knows the number, and he knows their traits. It is freakish, considering there's, like, over 600 of them.
Yeah, but there was the one whose powers was
There's-
memory loss.
There's 628, because
Mhm.
Leroy. 'Cause-
Yeah, but there was, there were memory erasing experiments. So he knows that there's a gap there. He knows there's the gap, but he doesn't know what's in the gap.
But
Because he absolutely, in that
that's
number,
true, there is
there
a
must have
memory
been
erasing
multiple memory erasers.
no, there's only one.
Well, we didn't see all 600 of them. There could have been more.
Shut up.
So, Emily, I was really glad because I was so
Wait,
frustrated
wasn't there a Proud Family crossover too?
with Kim Possible or Lilo and Stitch.
I want to say one of them.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I
also,
think you're right.
I think Recess crossed over with something. at some
Maybe.
point.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyways, that's the real Dooku. The Dooku. The Disney Channel Cinematic Universe. The Dooku.
It's just me as Morrey making that noise. That's what it's called.
You're getting too low pitched with it, though.
I know, but like my throat.
That's
really
fair. Yeah, you
hurts
don't
now.
lose your voice, please. Stop doing it. Yeah, Emily, the whole episode, I was so frustrated that she was being so trusting of everything. I actually loved at one point when she's like, maybe Morrey stole it on purpose, and Matthew's like, you suspect Morrey? And she's like, I don't trust anyone. I was like,
That is nonsense. You trust Morrey.
You are absolutely not suspicious of Morrey. If you had 1 ounce of
you were under his gross little thumb.
If you had 1 ounce of legitimate suspicion for Morrey, you would have figured him out a year ago.
It's been like 2 years since
I was
he
so
showed
glad.
up.
Don't say that. It makes me feel so old.
It's been so long.
I know it hasn't been that. It's been a year, but still.
It's been 2 albums.
Yes.
And I need him. He better be in the next album.
I was so frustrated with Emily through the entire episode because she was continually like, this is so legit, obviously. And then at the end, finally, and I actually did have this thought during the episode. I was like, man, all of these clues are just like really like lining up really easily. Because I only had that thought because there was another episode and I can't think of what it was now. And
Baseball Cap Hero.
Yeah. And they were like, these clues are fitting together too well.
And then it was like, it's Buck. And then it wasn't, which I liked.
Yeah. Yeah. And so finally Emily was like, boy, howdy, it's great how these clues keep lining up so easily for us. But I was like, I doubt that Morrey would have enlisted this old lady to help in his mystery. Like, I didn't think that would happen, but there you go, he did. Apparently he got all of these people. I was like, I didn't think he would want to show his hand like that.
Big puppy dog eyes going over to people's houses. He's like, can you please help? Can you please help me with this?
Can you please? And she's like, oh, I can't give in to it.
Oh, you have such beautiful eyes and such a stupid voice.
If you stop talking. If you stop talking.
I'm kidding. But, no, seriously though, Morrey's voice actor does a really good job. Like, he is menacing, straight up. I'm being completely serious when I say that. He is really good.
Yeah, the 2 post-credit scenes, the 2 main whatever, sound like chills down my spine, legit.
Like,
so this is funny.
I was just like, he's evil.
This thing right here, I wrote literally 5 seconds before those scenes started. I was like, oh, this is the end of the episode. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to type this out. This was 5 seconds before the rest of the scenes happened. I was like, okay, I'm so dang suspicious. Why did Morrey do this? Possibility A. Morrey really did actually want to lift Emily's spirits because as her rival, he needs her performing in tip-top shape to challenge him, and he wants himself to be as challenged as possible. Possibility B. Morrey wanted some sort of control mystery to test the Jones and Parker speed, given a mystery where he intentionally laid all the clues, so he wants to set a benchmark for them. Because he does comment to them how they solved it faster than he expected. It would give him this benchmark on future evil plans on how long he can expect to be safe, given a set level of paper trail. Possibility C. He wanted to endear himself more to Emily... Not that. He wanted to endear himself more to Emily and Matthew to get a further in to destroy them, possibly even show a friendly aptitude for mysteries, a casual aptitude, not a non-threatening, friendly, casual aptitude for mysteries, so that when they're on his trail in the future, maybe they'll chat him up about the clues they found and how the mystery's going, and he'll know how close they are to catching him.
What I thought was it was a combination of A and C, so he lifts their spirits, but at the same time, he makes them like and trust him.
Yeah, because he was doing that whole buttering Emily thing up in the past.
He was like...
He's like, gee golly, you're so good at solving mysteries. I wish I could be as smart as you two.
In one word, it would be like...
conniving.
It wouldn't even be slimy, it'd be like greasy.
Unctuous, as Connie described Glossman in the first Blacker novel.
What's that mean?
Like, covered with a thin coating of black slime.
Yeah, that's a good word for him.
So, yeah, I was like, those are 3 big scenarios there. Like, there's probably others, but those are the big 3 that jumped on my mind. And then I hit play, and in 5 seconds I was like, oh, okay, there we go. That scene with Morrey. Like, I guess that answers my question immediately, like 5 seconds after I typed it. So it was possibility B. And then came the Wit scene, which is chilling from a narrative perspective because it gives so much more weight to Morrey's arc. Because if Wit sounds this serious about it...
Okay, this scene, I don't know about you, this was like some castles and cauldrons stuff.
Yeah! That's what I thought. My first thought was castles and cauldrons. That went on
when he was like spending time with Len.
And then my brain was going to like...
whereas with that, I was like, it is bad with Len, but like, I don't know if I'd say it's like incredibly bad. With Morrey, I don't know what he's doing, and he freaks me out.
Yeah,
honestly.
but my first thought connected it to Castles and Cauldrons. Morrey's playing D&D, Victoria. That's the secret of the mystery. He's a nerd. We never would have solved the mystery.
I never would have guessed he was a nerd with that voice and demeanor and appearance.
So, yeah, and then my brain immediately connected the heaviness of the scene to, like, feelings
it's
of, like...
Mycroft Holmes Moriarty. Thank you, Google. I'm looking something up.
To Blackguard and to Novacom, and that's what that scene felt like, too, to me. Like, if Whit sounds this serious about the Morrey situation, and Whit specifically suspects Morrey, which I thought was interesting, he's onto him this early, it feels less like a fun junior Sherlock rivalry thing for Emily and Matthew, and more like an arc that will involve the whole town, adults included, on a potentially serious level. Now I'm, like, double jazzed relative to prior before.
Okay, I wanted to look something up about Moriarty from, like, the actual Conan Doyle books. I wanted to see if he was, like, in multiple Sherlock Holmes books and not just Reichenbach Falls, which I guess you have read the Sherlock Holmes books.
Very few.
You have, like, the Barnes & Noble
Yeah.
one. I don't know if that's all of them, though.
It is all of them.
But he is actually in a lot.
Yeah.
And then the only one where he's just, like, I don't know if he's, like, straight up the main villain in all of them, though.
No,
I
all
don't
of them,
think
but
he
I mean,
is. But,
he
like,
is
all the ones he appears in.
He is a recurring villain, yes.
No, I mean, like, I don't know if there's ones where he appears, but he's not the main villain.
Oh. He has, like, the whole, like, whatchamacall syndrome, where it's like he has to team him up to take on a bigger baddie. That would be funny. I don't think that happens.
That's called the Master, Devin.
Yeah. That's called the Master.
No,
it's called Draken.
Say, like,
it's called probably Maleficent Pete in Cage 3.
I was reading, I just got the last Kingdom Hearts 2 manga, and I had to reread the whole bit with them at the end, trying to take the castle that never was, and I was just like, go away! and then Pete's just like, Maleficent, we'll have to leave, and then she's just like, we'll be back, and I was like, I'm really sad they're not making any more manga, because I really want to see the other ones written, but at the same time, I won't have to relive every moment with these two. For the billionth time.
Okay, what do you think of this episode?
I don't know what to think about this episode. I think I have to re-listen to it, honestly.
I'm gonna give this one a 4.5.
I
thought there was, even though I figured it out at the beginning, I had serious doubts throughout most of it, and I started, like, swaying back a significant portion to, like, oh, I guess this is real after all. So, like, even though I figured out right away, I guessed at the beginning, then there was some back and forth on trying to figure out what was most likely. They finally brought Morrey back. The last two scenes were just, like, killer, great, and, like, awesome, like, setup for the future. I liked just the kind of, like, ridiculous story that Morrey wrote for the mystery of, like, oh, this world famous... I love also the same thing... Emily pointed it out after I thought of it too. It's like, oh, these two, like, world famous authors of, like, the highest, most famous caliber were the same person the entire time, and no one ever noticed except for 11 days out of her entire life.
Dev, do you know why Morrey was, like, the number one reason Morrey was glad that Emily didn't open the book? Inside was his Sherlock Holmes fan fiction.
No!
That's his secret at the end of all this. He writes Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty fan fiction. Not, like, pairing or anything like that. Just general fan fiction about them, like, fighting each other. And he's just like, I want to live my fan fiction.
To him, just straight up, like, rivalry and Battle of the Minds is the shippiest ship that you could write.
That's, like, what makes him happiest.
Yeah.
And stuff. I feel like, I don't know about you, I'm probably not the only one who feels this way. I think that you have, like, it's possible to have, like, tons of great mysteries where you don't feel the need to go back and look at past clues. because you can just, like, enjoy being surprised and never feel the need to go back. But I feel like all great mysteries, like truly excellent ones, they make you feel compelled to go through the entire thing again, just so you can spot out all the clues. There are a lot of Jones and Parker mysteries that make me feel that way, especially the ones where I didn't know Morrey was evil right away. Although I was very suspicious.
You mean the one
him.
episode?
Yeah, but even with that one, I was like,
that also wasn't a mystery. His first episode was Parker present. We figured out he was evil by the end of it.
No, you didn't. I was suspicious of him, but you're like, he was kind of weird.
No, then, we both agreed he was evil.
I was the only one who used straight up evil, though.
Oh, yeah, you were more... I was, like, jokingly like, no, oh, he's probably, like, evil. And you were like...
I was like, no, he is completely evil. And then the second one, so I've always been suspicious of Morrey, more or less. But I feel like lots of the episodes with him have had a lot of rewatch value, or re-listen to. I think for this one, it doesn't really.
I feel like
that... everything was pretty spelled out.
I would agree for me, but just because I was listening to it with the context of the plot twist in mind from the beginning, because I thought...
I mean, like, even if I knew the plot twist and figured, like, by the end, I don't think I'd want to re-listen to it if it wasn't, like, an Odyssey episode. If it was just, like, a general TV show episode or something like that. Yeah, I get what you mean. Where I only rewatch, like... certain episodes if I really like them or not.
Yeah.
Except for definitely gonna listen to that last like minute a billion times over and over again until Morrey appears again, which will be 5 years down the line.
Yeah,
put up that picture of that I made before of Morrey.
If you're gonna listen to that 1 minute segment until he comes back, you know how many times you're gonna listen to it?
So
525,600 times, because it will be a year.
I was really hoping you were going to somehow make a 15 minutes joke, but you didn't.
No, it was perfect, because you said it was a minute long, and you're saying it was a year, and so it's perfect.
But that's actually, like, not the right measurement.
Well, obviously, because there's not exactly 365 days in a year, Victoria.
No, I mean, like, even the number they have on top of that. It's not the right number.
No,
they just use that number because it goes with the lyrics.
It is correct. They do at one point leave off the 600 minutes.
No, I heard that it's the wrong number.
Watch. Times 24 times 365. 525,600.
Well, you know what? I don't like Rent. So...
Here's the thing. I already knew what the number was before I knew the song, Victoria.
So. I don't like Rent, so your argument is invalid. Anyway.
So, what was your rating?
3.5.
Alright. Cool. What 2 episodes?
And 3 of those points are just for everything with Morrey and Wit at the end.
What?
So super good. News? What's that news?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Boy?
We'll say it next time because I forgot about it. It's episodes getting moved around, an episode that we thought was coming up. I'll say it at the beginning of this episode, too. Quote from an inside source. It looks like Kathy's episode, Divided We Fall, has been removed from the AIOC lineup for this year. More than likely being moved to album 65.
Wait, wasn't that the Buck one?
We thought... We guessed that it might be, I think. More likely being moved to album 65 and replaced with an episode by Sam called Always Do Your Best-ish.
Okay.
So we'll still get it this year either way.
No offense to anyone at all, but, like, I would much... If I had to choose between an episode called Divided We Fall and Always Do Your Best-ish, I know which one I would choose.
Well, fortunately for you, Victoria, you don't have to pick between them because either way we'd still be getting both of them this year.
That's very true. Which one would you choose? What are you doing?
Well, I'm looking at what 2 episodes.
What was that?
Meta's Match is out.
Wait, what number is that? Is that the next one?
That's the February AIOC episode.
I thought it was
Valentine's. Because Valentine's
I'm so
Day.
excited to listen to Meta's Match. Holy crap! Oh my gosh. I don't even care about reviewing the January episode first. I'm gonna listen to it.
We do have to review the January episode. Also, we have to talk about the rest of album 65, which we're doing next, and the next 2 episodes to come out. I said 65, I meant 64.
Oh,
we're breaking up a 2-parter. Oh no. Oh no.
No, that's not why I was whining.
Yeah, no, I know,
It's
but also
because
that.
I want to listen to whatever Out of the
I
Picture
forgot
is
about
before I listen to Sir Buddy's Snow Day.
We have Sir Buddy's Snowy Day with a Y. Sir Buddy's Snowy Day and David and Absolom Part 1.
I still don't know what Absolom is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I want to just cheat and do Sir Buddy's and Out of the Picture in one episode.
Oh yeah, it is tempting.
David and Absolom in another one.
Except
for what I think it'd be better if we did is if we did David and Absolom first.
See, that is what I'm wondering if we should do that.
I think that would be.
I think that would be better. We have been absurdly lucky thus far on the podcast that in terms of album stuff, we've never had to split like a 2-parter like that in terms of the order of album airing stuff, which admittedly only applies to these things.
We've had to do
to regular broadcast albums.
OAC episodes.
Well, yeah, but there's no way around that.
Yeah.
Every episode is separate from each other. We don't do those in pairs.
Do you want to do David and Absolom next?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. We just broke our own rules.
I know.
Devin's probably gonna feel bad about it.
Yeah, I'll listen to Sir Buddy's Snowy Day first.
We'll give a 1-minute summary of our thoughts.
I'll still listen to them in order. But, yeah, we should review David and Absolom in a single episode.
For some reason, I thought it said Bernard and Absolom. I was really happy. No, it's because it says David, and I was thinking Dave Madden.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
You got very close on this one. Back up, boy.
So that's all for this time.
We're going to watch Captain America because we're super behind on our Marvel marathon.
Yeah.
Before Infinity War.
Black Panther comes out in a week.
Oh my gosh, we're how many weeks behind are we? Jeez.
Probably a bunch.
We're like 4 weeks behind or something.
We still have 3 months until Infinity War comes out.
Still, there's so many movies. Anyway.
I know, and so many more TV shows, which we're not watching because it's sad. Also because
we're sad.
Because the TV shows add together to
Devin.
8 solid days of content.
Devin.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us on our side of the YouTube. I've been Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Monster.
And never forget, Morrey picks things up with his feet.
You've now fully pulled the entire length of the blanket off the back of the couch.
You're welcome.
I sigh because I'm the only person who does housework in this
That's
flat.
not true.
That is true. Until next time, I've been Devin Francis, also known as I already said this.
You already said that.
I already said that.
End the
You've been
episode.
watching The Adventures of Odyssey Oddcast. Goodbye.
Bye.